If this tractor falls into the abyss, we'll lose it forever. Imagine 8 floating islands suspended high above the clouds. One has a dense forest full of wood worth a fortune, another has meadows, mud, rocks, and in the middle, a starting island with a shop and $0. The rules are simple and brutal. No leasing, no loans, and if a machine falls off the edge, it's gone forever. I landed here with FS Master and we're starting from scratch. This is how we built our empire on the floating islands. The first thing I did after starting, I looked around the starting island for anything I could sell. And right away, a little shock. I found a pile of rocks and a bucket. I couldn't load the rocks in the bucket. FS Master managed just fine, but my bucket must have had a hole in it. For one full bucket of stones, we got about 90 euros. I needed a moment to learn how to hold the bucket to load the stones easily. But luckily I managed, and our account showed a balance of almost 500 euros. We loaded more buckets, sold them, and our account was now almost 700 euros. But what's next? We've already sold all the small stones. There were also these big rocks on our starting island, but there was a problem. They were very heavy and we didn't know how to move them. After a moment's thought, we decided to buy this little red cart. It didn't look very sturdy, but we decided to spend 200 euros and risk it. It was really our only hope to get to the forest island. The crossing required us to build a bridge, and for that bridge we first needed money. FS Master drove the cart to a big rock and I grabbed it, trying with all my might to push it on. With a little help from FS Master, I loaded the rock, we strapped it down and took it straight to the sell point. It wasn't easy, but we earned another 77 euros. This time I grabbed the cart and drove up to the biggest rock we could find on the island. Together we pushed the rock onto the cart and drove to the sell point. That was a crucial moment, because the cart could have fallen apart at any time and we'd have needed another. And that way we'd never save up the money we needed. We missed another pile of rocks we can load into the bucket. This will spare the cart from another huge boulder. Once I had a full bucket, I went to put it on the cart to take it to the sell point. The bucket tipped over, fell off the cart, and the rocks spilled, so I had to pick them up again. We had some adventures, but sold the bucket's contents. To build the bridge and buy a chainsaw, we need about 1600 euros. So we immediately loaded 2 more buckets and went straight to the sell point to sell them. We reached our goal. We have almost 1700 euros. It's high time we built our first bridge. Building this bridge cost 500 euros, but thanks to it we can finally get to the second island, the forest island. The bridge came out almost perfect. Slight adjustments let us easily drive our red cart off the bridge, and later tractors we now had to earn. For further development we had to spend 1000 euros on a chainsaw, and then we headed straight to our newly acquired island. This red cart was definitely not a speed demon, but it was our only hope. We didn't have money for anything else. I grabbed the chainsaw, started it up, and got to work cutting down the first tree. The birch fell without much resistance, and I immediately removed the stump so I wouldn't have a nasty surprise later by hitting it with a tractor. While I cut the birch, FS Master gathered and loaded it onto the cart. After dealing with the birch, I started looking around to choose another tree to fill up the cart. Nearby, I saw another birch of a similar size, so I started cutting it down. Just like before, the birch was cut into smaller pieces, then loaded straight onto the cart and strapped down so we wouldn't lose anything. At that moment, our account balance was 164 euros, but that was about to change. The cart was so packed that FS Master started losing wood even before getting on the bridge, and we couldn't afford that. So I picked up what fell out and started walking with him at the breakneck speed of 3 kilometers per hour. It took a while, but the transport finally reached the sell point. It was a key moment for us. Our first wood sale, for which we received 385 euros. A pretty nice sum, but unfortunately not enough for us. I grabbed the cart and headed for the island with the wood. FS Master was cutting a tree to load onto the cart and take to the shop. I have a small request for you. Let me know in the comments what you think and how it sounds. Are the dubs okay? And if they are okay and you need such dubs for your videos at a good price and in very good quality, just like mine, I invite you to my website, the link to which you can see on the screen now and is also in the description. I launched this service to enable you to create videos like mine in many languages. The wood sale brought in 981 euros, letting us invest in a tractor and a timber trailer. These purchases cost almost 1000 euros, but they will significantly speed up our earning pace. After starting the tractor and hooking up the trailer, we headed for the wood island at 8 kilometers per hour. Once we got there, FS Master immediately started cutting down trees. Now that we had better equipment, a tractor with a trailer, we could transport much larger quantities of wood than with that small red cart. Once the trailer was full, it went straight to the sell point. Along the way, we even organized a little race. I ran and FS Master drove the tractor with the trailer. Who do you think won? Comment below. The moment of... We sold the wood and received 3,170 euros for this load. A pretty nice sum, but at that moment we needed a lot more money. We've only reached the second island, and there are 8 here. To each island a bridge, each offers new possibilities. Our next goal was to buy mowers to cut the grass on the shop island and then build a bridge to the next island, where our first field will be created. To do this, I grabbed my chainsaw and started cutting down one of the biggest trees available here. The biggest and therefore the most profitable. I cut the tree into smaller pieces, and FS Master helped me load them onto the trailer. See? We didn't trim the branches. We hoped we wouldn't get snagged and stuck on the bridge. It went smoothly. We reached the sell point and sold the whole load for over 7,300 euros. That's over 11,000 euros in our account. With that much cash, we could finally go to the shop and buy mowers. FS Master spent 1,500 euros on a tractor mower, and I bought a Profi hopper for 5,900. Our gear was waiting on the island, so we started mowing. A few passes with the mower and the tank was full. I went to the sell point to sell it. For a full tank we only got 142 euros. It turned out I'd made a bad deal with this mower, as I'd have to sell over 50 loads to make my money back. This island didn't even have that much grass. I sold another tank of grass for 132 euros. I kept mowing, and when I came back with another load, FS Master decided to put a bucket on my head. I guess it was a reward for spending 5,900 euros so brilliantly on this mower. With my new headgear, I immediately set off to mow even more grass. Sadly, the bucket fell off my head quickly, but at least I was less likely to fall off this island. When selling the last load, a perfect opportunity for revenge arose. I decided to set the high tip and dump all the grass on FS Master's head. A little joke. He was just standing there not moving, so he got a grass shower. That's it for mowing grass for now. After selling the last batch, our account has 3,484 euros. Unfortunately, as I said, it wasn't a golden deal and we barely made 1,200 euros from selling grass. Despite the small financial loss, we weren't stopping. FS Master at once started building the bridge to the third island. It was on this very island that we planned to create our first field. To build this bridge, we had to use significantly more segments, each for 100 euros. There were 9 in total, so we spent 900 euros on it and had to level the terrain as well. Make a ramp for easy access. We built the bridge to waste as little island space as possible. Due to the difference in terrain height, it wasn't that simple, but our chief bridge engineer, FS Master, knew exactly what to do. Or at least it would seem so. But we'll finish that topic a little later, because now I've gone to the shop to see how much money we need for a cultivator. At that moment we had 2,485 euros, and somehow that had to be enough for a seeder, a cultivator and seeds. I left the shopping decisions to FS Master, and I got to work on fixing up the bridge. But then a fatal mistake was made. While I browsed the shop, ignoring our account, the money began to vanish. When I noticed, the money was gone. We were left with only 22 euros. It turned out that FS Master decided to build a fence, and that took all our savings, which were meant for buying new equipment. Because of that, FS Master had to go straight to the forest and bring back another trailer of wood to make up for the losses he caused. Meanwhile, I got to work on making a support for the bridge on the turn, so everything would be well supported, and by the way, look good. At that moment, the islands looked like this. 2 bridges. First bridge to the forest island. The second bridge, the newest, to the island where we'll create the first field. We already had 3 of the 8 islands available on this map. At that point, we were on the right track to get to all the islands and develop their land. But what's actually on the other islands? I mentioned earlier that each island is unique, and on each one we have unique opportunities for profit and land use. Island 1 is the shop with a sell point where we can deliver materials. This is where we started. You already know this island very well. The second island, the one with the forest. This island got us started and earned us our first big money for development. Island number 3, which we haven't taken yet, is all grass and fairly flat. It's perfect for creating some kind of field. On island number 4, once we get to it, we'll be able to start producing oil, diesel and various products derived from crude oil extraction. The 5th island is a key island for our success, because on it there are plenty of stones that will be needed for gold production. The 6th island is all covered in mud. There's no grass here, nothing interesting. We'll have to transform this land to use it for some crops. Island number 7, the one we just got to, and we'll start creating a field here soon. Island number 8, which is the largest island in terms of its area. It has very flat terrain, a lot of grass, and will be perfect for raising animals like goats, chickens, sheep, everything possible. Now you know what's where, and FS Master has arrived at the sell point on the middle island to sell the wood. He sold the load for under 3,800 euros. There are still plenty of trees to cut on the island, so for now we don't have to worry about running out, but later on we'll have to plant trees, and that will also require some new equipment. And speaking of equipment, I went straight to the shop and chose our first cultivator, for which I paid 740 euros. We needed one more cultivator for FS Master. I chose one for 1,500 euros with a 3-meter working width. Unfortunately, when picking up the equipment from the store, it turned out our small tractor couldn't attach such a cultivator. No rear lift, so it can't pick it up. It can only pull a trailer. It turned out we only had one tractor to which we could attach the cultivator. The one FS Master bought earlier to mow grass. I haven't shown it to you, so here it is for the first time. Without wasting a moment, I went to attach the cultivator. Once I did that, I gave the tractor to FS Master, and he got in and drove straight to the new bridge to test it and reach our new island. The tractor's making odd sounds when you ease off the gas. Listen for yourselves. FS Master reached the island and created our first field. Of course, first the outline and then the fill. We don't know what we'll sow here, but we know one thing. We definitely won't have enough money for a seeder or any seeds, so soon we'll have to go to the forest and do some serious logging. The field was created in a flash, and after finishing we had to transport this tractor to our main island, where a logging trailer is waiting to be hitched up to go to the forest. I left the cultivator, hitched up the logging trailer and set off for our most profitable island so far. We went there to earn about 15,000 euros, because that's how much we needed to buy a planter and seeds. I grabbed the saw and started cutting. We couldn't earn 15,000 in one trip, so we got to work without delay. I was cutting trees and FS Master came after a while and helped me load and transport it to the shop island. Almost 4,000 euros from the sold wood landed in our account. We returned to the forest and chose another tree to cut, a gigantic Chinese pine. This is our favorite tree when it comes to profit. It may be huge and barely fit on this trailer, but for that reason it also gives a very large cash injection. I was about to clean up and remove the giant stump after cutting the tree, but FS Master made me realize that we would lose hundreds of euros. And he was right, a stump like that is heavy. We're loading the cut Chinese pine onto the trailer and heading straight to the sell point. I wonder how much money we'll make on this transport. You can write in the comments how much you think we'll make. I don't know how he managed to squeeze between those trees and cross that bridge, but he did it and reached the sell point. The Chinese pine added 7,000 euros to our account. We've almost raised the 15,000 euros I mentioned, but let's try something else. This island has more than just perfect, straight trees. There are also large deciduous trees here that need to be cut into small pieces and somehow loaded, because it's really difficult. This tree protested and wouldn't fall after being cut. We had to use our red beast to give it a little push and end this protest with a gentle use of force. Loading these cut branches was like solving a puzzle with your eyes closed. It was simply practically impossible, unfeasible, but somehow we managed. But the next stage was even harder. FS Master had to fit between the trees, cross the bridge and reach the sell point. I didn't expect it, but it went smoothly and everything got to the sell point. And for this transport we earned exactly 1947 euros. Is that all? What's going on? How is that possible? The whole tree didn't fit on the last trailer, so the pay was low. But now we're selling the leftovers that are still on the island. We got almost 5,600 euros for them, so in total we have 19,773, and we can finally afford a planter, seeds and other necessary things. We spent 12,500 euros on the planter. At that moment I decided it would be worth getting rid of unused equipment, like this never used cultivator that's sitting at the shop. So I sold it and we got back 629 euros. Then I bought a pallet of seeds for 1,260 euros and we filled the seeder. FS Master went to the field to sow, and I followed with a drone to film it all from above. Let me know in the comments how you like this kind of farm development, this type of video, and of course, let me know if the dubs are okay. Tell us what country you're watching from. As usual, I always ask, so please, you can write that for me. If possible, I'll try to give you a heart under your comment. FS Master kept working in the field while I went to the forest island to get the mower, take it to the sell point, unload the grass and sell it, since we won't need it anymore. And that will free up a lot of cash. This is the screw up I made earlier. We'll see what we can get back. I sold the rest of the grass for 78 euros, now the mower, and the moment of truth. How much is it worth? 4,800 euros, not bad. I bought it for 5,900, so we lost almost nothing, or very little, since we did sell some of that grass. Thanks to getting rid of that mower, I could now add some money and buy another tractor. I bought a John Deere for 7,500 euros, plus a fertilizer spreader for 790. The fertilizer pallet cost more than the spreader, 1920 euros. After filling the tank, FS Master headed towards our freshly sown field. On the way, he hit a rock and rolled the roofless tractor. He hit the grass, got on four wheels, and drove on like nothing happened. Eight floating islands above the clouds and $0 in the account. We can't use leasing, and if it falls off the map, it's gone forever. We earned our first money with an old bucket, selling stones with it. Until we reached the point where we are now. FS Master created a new field and sowed it with parsnips, and then moved on to spreading fertilizer. The island still had lots of free space, so I jumped in the tractor, hooked up the cultivator, and headed for the island where FS Master was. Once I got there, I immediately started marking out the new field. Our new field was to be much bigger than the last. To speed things up, FS Master took the John Deere for the planter and started planting parsnips in the field I was still creating. When I finished my work, I swapped tractors with FS Master because his John Deere could barely handle the seeder. I took the John Deere with the cultivator to the starting island to decorate, so our machines finally have a place. They were in the grass. I paved a piece of land and started arranging the machines so that everything had its place and looked decent. It may be modest, but at least our space farm will be tidy. We've spent some time on these islands and so far we had nowhere to rest. I decided to set up a tent for me and a tent for FS Master, so we'd have a place to wait for all this time until our parsnips grew in the field. I set up the tents, parked all the machines, and was about to go spread fertilizer on the field that FS Master had sown with parsnips. But it turned out that on his way back he missed a turn and almost fell off the island. His tractor landed on its roof and couldn't get up, so a quick rescue was needed. Getting that red tractor back on its wheels was a real challenge, but after many attempts we managed to do it, and FS Master could get back to work, and I could spread fertilizer on the newly sown field. I have a small mission for you. Write in the comments under this video, FS Master tractors don't fly. You can also check the pinned comment under this video to see how to get something from the channel sponsor, SteelSeries, for free and by doing practically nothing. A simple comment is enough. Check it out! Before we can go for a well-deserved rest and wait for the parsnips to grow, we need to earn some money. FS Master sold the first woodload for 4,200 euros and now I'm off to help. We'll need money to buy equipment for the parsnip harvest. We loaded a whole huge tree onto the trailer, and to get to the bridge, I had to cut down a few more trees whose branches were catching. We somehow got it straight to the sell point. For the wood, we got over 4,200 euros. One piece got away, so we sold it separately for another 205 euros, totaling 9,499 euros. Almost 9,500. Now we can go to sleep peacefully. After 5 months of rest, FS Master had a brilliant idea and spent 5,600 euros on a forage wagon for grass. You're probably wondering why. I was wondering too, but FS Master wanted to do an experiment. He wanted to collect wood chips with a forage wagon. How do you think that experiment ended? He hitched the trailer, drove to the forest and sadly couldn't get the wood chips. This experiment completely ruined our plans. At that moment, we had no idea if we'd have enough money for the parsnip harvesting equipment we were so looking forward to. Fortunately, after a thorough look at the shop, it turned out we could afford 2 handheld harvesters. They have a small working width, but they're cheap. They cost 1500 euros each, so we paid 3000 and didn't even know if it would work. With the equipment we went straight to the bridge, to the island with our parsnips. We were moving at a breakneck speed of 8 km per hour. At first FS Master couldn't even get on the bridge. The mighty handheld harvester's wheels jammed on a ledge too big. We got across the bridge. It took a while, but we finally reached the field where our parsnips are growing. We're starting with field number 1, the smaller one. Keep you from getting bored, we sped it up 4 times. This way the recording is quite pleasant to watch. This work was really monotonous, but it's worth it. Or so we thought. But we'll see how it goes. A crate per 2000 liters. That's how we unload this equipment. Later, the crates must be collected and delivered. We drove back and forth, filling one crate after another, until we managed to harvest everything in this field. We filled 12 crates with parsnips. Not all of them, but that's still over 20,000 liters. And this is just the beginning, as we have another, much bigger field. And here, well, I think we'll exceed 30,000 liters, but that's in a moment. First, we need to take a trip to the forest. I hitched up the timber trailer and jumped into the tractor to head towards our forest, which is still too dense and needs to be thinned out by cutting down a few trees. First up, I chose a Chinese pine, which is gigantic and gives us a lot of money when we sell it. However, some complications arose. The tree didn't want to fall. Plus, it was leaning in such a way that it could fall into the chasm, and we certainly didn't want that. I grabbed the saw and was about to cut when suddenly the tree started to fall and was about to go into the chasm when it got stuck on the rocks below. A blessing in disguise, since we can't get the tree out anyway. We'll need a winch for that, and maybe we'll come back to it someday. But for now, we've lost the opportunity to earn about 5,000 euros and had to cut down another tree. Again it was a Chinese pine, and again it got stuck on another tree, but at least this time it didn't fall into the chasm. I also had to cut down this huge deciduous tree where the last log from our Chinese pine got stuck. This gigantic tree fell in such a way that it landed perfectly on our trailer. FS Master had a bit too much faith in this tractor and trailer. So he strapped everything down, securing this huge tree with one very long strap. See what it looked like. We couldn't transport it this way, so I had to cut off a few branches, and FS Master could finally drive off and cross the bridge. Somehow he managed to cross the bridge without hitting any lampposts. We made over 7,000 euros on this timber run. But we didn't stop there and immediately went back to the forest island to try to transport the trunk of that huge, thick, deciduous tree we had cut down. We were just curious how much money we would get for such a huge, thick log. Turned out to be quite a lot, over 3,800 euros. Thanks to that, we have 11,524 euros and we can go shopping. We need a trailer to transport the pallets that are lying in the field. For 3,200 euros, we bought a platform for transporting pallets. I went to the field to get all the pallets, because we couldn't wait to see how much money we'd make and if this parsnip was worth it at all. You can write in the comments how much money you bet we'll make on this transport. Also, let me know what country you're watching from. I'm always curious where my content reaches. We loaded the first layer with autoload, but we had to load the other two manually, because autoload wouldn't let us load so high. but we preferred to risk falling off the bridge and losing everything, just to load it all in one transport. All our profit was now in the hands of FS Master, who was crossing the bridge and could fall off at any moment with one wrong move of the steering wheel and a wobble of the definitely overloaded trailer. To add to the drama, the game kept freezing. He almost managed to cross the bridge and then... well, what then? He managed to get to the sell point and sell the whole load for almost 17,000 euros. After that sale, our account was over 25,000 euros. And there's still a whole unharvested field left. I lied to you a bit earlier, because I said we had 2 fields of parsnips to harvest, but one field was parsnips, and the other, as you can see, was carrots. The harvest was fruitful and we filled pallet after pallet. So FS Master jumped into the John Deere and started collecting pallets straight onto the trailer. Meanwhile, I was constantly producing crate after crate full of carrots. As soon as the trailer was 100% full, FS Master immediately headed for the shop and it was time to sell the first transport of carrots. For 8 full crates of carrots, we received over 12,000 euros. FS Master sped over that bridge and almost fell off, but this time he got lucky and reached the field in one piece. We immediately started harvesting the remaining carrots in the field. Half the work is already behind us, so we're doing very well, but we need huge amounts of money, so we can't stop even for a moment. I remind you that in this episode we are not using any leases, any rentals, and if something falls off the island, it's gone forever. So we have really difficult conditions here. The carrot harvest is finished. There was nothing left to do but load the crates filled to the brim with carrots onto our trailer and take them straight to the sell point. So I'm running to help FS Master load these crates and we'll go sell them as soon as possible. The transport was only slightly overloaded, so as not to risk falling off the bridge and losing the entire cargo. Once again, our account was credited with over 12,000 euros, and we now have almost 50,000 euros. FS Master took the tractor and trailer to collect the rest of the carrot crates, while I took the tractor with the cultivator and went to the island to start preparing the fields for re-sowing. After collecting the remaining carrot crates from the field, FS Master sold them at the sell point for over 10,000 euros. While he was organizing the funds we needed to survive, I started preparing the first field on this island for the next crops. The first field is finished. There's still the second one to take care of, where the carrots grew. It's a bit bigger, but it should also go quickly. Especially considering FS Master just bought another tractor and cultivator, so we could work together. After his purchase, he came to help me in the field. When we finished working on this field, FS Master said he had a surprise for me and had to show me something because he built a bridge to the next island while I was preparing field number 1. Suspecting nothing, I drove right behind FS Master. But as soon as I got on the bridge, it turned out it wasn't perfectly aligned with the island and it bumped me, causing my tractor to land on its roof. I almost fell off the island. Of course, FS Master claimed it wasn't a trap, because why would he do that since we're on the same team? But I don't fully trust him. I think there might have been some subtle sabotage here, subtle enough so I wouldn't fall off the island, but to give him an excuse to use the chain and perform another rescue operation. This time on me. Before I rescued him, now he rescued me. Luckily, we managed to get the tractor back on its wheels fairly easily. Now all that was left was to recover the cultivator, which was stuck on the rocks. And that wasn't so simple. As you can see, FS Master had to really crank that steering wheel to get out of that hole. He threw me the cultivator and drove off, and I could finally cross safely to the next island we managed to unlock. This is the 4th island out of the 8 we have to unlock. You could say we're officially halfway through our challenge. There was absolutely nothing on this island but mud, so FS Master immediately started preparing it for sowing. Before I even got there. After my slight problems crossing the bridge. One thing, this field will be our largest field so far that we've created on the Flying Islands. At that moment we were wondering what we should sow here, because surely not carrots or parsnips to kill ourselves harvesting them with manual harvesters. Unfortunately, our budget doesn't allow us to buy a new harvester that will do it much faster. We can't lease or get a loan, that's the rule this episode. The field is created, so now it would be good to sow some grain on it. FS Master went shopping and spent 14,000 euros on 2 seeders, plus 6,000 euros on fertilizer and seeds. We filled our new machines and crossed the bridge to the ready field. For a long while we wondered what to sow here, but we decided on canola. Working with 2 seeders went very smoothly, so we handled this island in literally a few minutes. Right after finishing sowing on this island, we headed straight for the newly discovered island where we created a giant field. However, on the way, the very thing we tried so hard to avoid happened. My tractor was hanging over the abyss, and we had absolutely no idea what to do now. If that tractor had fallen, we would have lost it forever. Did we manage to save it? You'll see in the next episode. Bye!